We want to offer a warm welcome to our members and guests who have joined us in person, those on Zoom. Thank you so much. My name is Rebecca Countess, and as the chair of the York County History Center's Board of Directors, it is my honor to officially call the 2021-2022 annual meeting of the York County History Center to order. Tonight, we have the opportunity to welcome new board members, hear the latest information regarding the organization's achievements, and celebrate community members who expand our understanding of York County's extensive history. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge our board members. So please stand if you're a board member. Thank you. And all of our dedicated volunteers, you may stand or raise your hand. We are immensely grateful to all of you for your commitment to the History Center. You are ensuring that our organization is relevant, accessible, and engaging. Thank you so much. So now we can start our business meeting. We're going to start. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from the previous annual meeting, which was 2020-2021. May I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, JT. A second? Thank you. Any discussion, corrections, or additions to those minutes? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Any abstention? Thank you. The minutes are passed as written. So next we move into the organizational financials with the board treasurer, Diane Baker, for a review of the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022.
Thank you, Rebecca. So I'm happy to report that the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022 had positive financial results. The History Center continued its exceptional education programming and exhibits, both in person and virtually. And we were able to do that because we had excellent support from the Cultural Alliance, Educational Improvement Tax Credit donations, corporate sponsorships, unrestricted community donations, as well as grant funding. Annual fund income increased 12% over last year's results. Admissions, shop sales, rentals, and special events had a combined income increase of 82%. How often do you hear a number that large? Now, I might remind you, we had a pandemic the year before that, so that was why numbers were low, but it's wonderful to see that kind of recovery. We were able to contain our expenses during 2021-2022. We budgeted an operating surplus of $1,865. That's basically a break-even budget. We ended the year with a surplus from operations of $117,480. This favorable operating result was due to some non-recurring income that supported the History Center's operations. On the screen is a graph showing the operating revenue sources for the History Center. The three largest sources are annual fund receipts, which comprise 20% of the revenue, investment income, which represented 24%, and then non-recurring inflows from other unrestricted income and second draw PPP loans representing 25% of the total. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. The History Center was a recipient of a second draw PPP loan, otherwise known as the Paycheck Protection Program. That loan was in the amount of $232,477, and that was fully forgiven in October 2021. And that's similar to the first draw loan that we had that was forgiven in November 2020. Our second graph reflects the operational expenditures of the fiscal year. Those expenditures totaled $1.85 million, for the 21-22 year. 81% of that total are expenses related to personnel costs and buildings and grounds. The personnel expenses make up 68% of the total, And that's in line with other organizations similar to the History Center. We depend on our people to present our programming, to take care of our collections, and to present our exhibits. There is an additional graph of the fiscal year total operational expenditures allocated by department in this year's annual report. So if you'd like to see these sliced and diced a different way, check out the annual report. And then our final slide is the History Center's comparison statement of position as of June 30th, 2022 compared to 2021. So the most significant changes from last year are in our cash balance. There it increased to $8 million from 4.55 million. And that was from the continued collection of capital campaign donations, as well as liquidating 1.5 million from our unrestricted endowment fund to support the steam plant project. Over $7.1 million of this cash balance is held in a money market fund to maximize interest while keeping it liquid, because did I mention the steam plant project? Decrease in pledges receivable reflects the collection of capital campaign commitments, which is exactly what we want to do. We want to turn those pledges into cash. And then the balance in endowments and trusts. That makes me a little sad. That went from 13.5 million at June 30th, 2021 to 10 million as of June 30th. And I'm afraid to say that it continues to decline. And that's due to market depreciation. But I will remind you, we did withdraw 1.5 million for the steam plant project. So it is a combination of items that have caused that to decrease. Construction in progress, that's at $5 million, and that represents capitalized costs incurred to date on the steam plant project. So there are primarily building and exhibit design costs in that number, as well as interest on our loan. And then finally, on the next slide, we have our fund balance for the History Center as of June 30th, 2022, which is at $24.2 million. So the June 30th, 2022 financial information has been audited by RKL, and we anticipate receiving their final report in November of this year. So that's it for financial information. I threatened Fran to introduce her as fabulous Fran Polk. I'm going to carry through on that threat and allow her to talk about governance.
I went to school with her father. I don't know how I deserved that. Okay, hi, I'm Fran Polk. For those of you in the room, the slate of candidates is located on your chairs. Every year, the History Center Board of Directors seeks nominations to assist the organization with direction, connections, funding, and advocacy. Nominations are welcome for consideration throughout the year. The Board Governance Committee matches the organization's needs with talents of potential board candidates. Each year during the annual meeting, now, new board members are elected to serve three-year terms. This year we have 4 new board members and a number of returning board members in rotation. New board member candidates are as follows, and there are 4. So as I mentioned, each one of you, would you stand while I introduce you? Nisi DeShields Moulton. She's out there. Some members will recognize Nisi for her work in genealogy, as she presented a number of times for the History Center and South Central Pennsylvania Genealogical Society. For more than 20 years, Nisi has pursued her family roots, which are traced to the Hampton Mansion in Lutherville, Maryland. Nisi resides in York. Ron Martin. Many here and online know Ron from his storied career at WGAL, from which he retired in 2020. He is a York native who began his career in broadcast journalism as a desk assistant at NBC News in Washington, D.C., after graduating from Howard University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in communications. Today, Ron works as a real estate broker with Inch & Company. Ron and his wife, Millie, have 3 children.
But no grandchildren yet.
Future members of the History Center. Jan Wagner. A graduate of Drexel University, Jan holds a dual degree in architectural and civil engineering. Most recently, Jan became president of Wagner Construction after a 28-year career with Kinsley Construction. You know where the action is, don't you? Jan is dedicated to the York community, serving on numerous boards, including the Keystone Chapter, Associated Builders and Contractors, the new Birth of Freedom Council of Boy Scouts of America, the Engineering Society of York, and the Civil Engineering Program Advisory Board at York College. Additionally, he is an active member of the Rotary Club of York. Jan, Kira, and their daughter live in York. Their two sons have graduated from college and live in Texas and Illinois. And the fourth one, it's actually a flashback. It's Dr. Scott Dicely. There it is. Scott is no stranger to the board. After a brief hiatus where he chaired the United Way of York County Board, he rejoins the History Center to continue working with school programs and assist with all aspects of creating the STEAM plant. Dr. Dicely has been the superintendent of schools for the Red Lion Area School District since July 1st of 2011. Previously, he was the assistant superintendent for grades 7 to 12 at the Spring Grove Area School District and the assistant superintendent of the Manheim Central School District. Additionally, Dr. Dicely serves on the executive board of the Southern Region of PASCD. The United Way of York County Board of Directors and the Junior Achievement of South Central Pennsylvania's Board of Trustees. He is also actively involved with the Red Lions Club. And we have some renewing the rotation members for a second term. Would you please stand? Silas Chamberlain and Elise Pollock Burns. Nope. Okay. And for a third renewing term, Diane Baker, Kenya Brown-Feaster, Jeff Lobach, Glenn Miller, Fran Polk, Delma Rivera, and Tim Sutherland. You can see this board is dynamic. It's incredible, and it's a place you want to be if you're part of York County. I turn the meeting over to the president Countess for the election.
That would be terrible. Okay, the election. As indicated in the York County History Center bylaws, section 5.2, election of directors, the members shall elect the directors from among their number at the annual member meeting. So you have before you a slate of candidates, which comes to us at the recommendation of the governance committee and the board of directors, so no second is needed. You have that slate in front of you in your program. Are there any points of discussion? Are there any questions? Anything you'd like to discuss? Okay, then we will call to accept the new and renewing board members for the class of 2022 and 23 as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, motion carried. Welcome to our new and renewing board members. Officers, as you will note, the slate of candidates also lists the officers who are elected for the new board immediately following this meeting, as noted in the organizational bylaws, Article 5, Section 5.12. The nominated officers are as follows: Chair, Rebecca Countess; Vice Chair, Dr. Dennis Bachman; Treasurer, Diane Baker; Assistant Treasurer, Rick Hokentogler; Secretary, Delma Riviera Lytle; Assistant Secretary, Elise Pollock Burns. In addition to these candidates, the York County History Center bylaws allow for the chair to appoint at-large representatives from the board to serve on the executive committee. Those representatives are Kenya Brown-Feaser, Silas Chamberlain, Glenn Miller, Fran Polk, and Dan Waltersdorf. Thank you. So we're going to move into section E, which is the chair's remarks, and we have a slide presentation. So one of the highlights this year was a significant investment of time by the board, staff, and community to develop our strategic plan. So the process began in the fall of 2021 when the governance committee researched the market for quality strategic planning facilitators who had experience with organizations similar to ours. We found 3 that were promising, and we requested proposals from all 3 of them. The governance committee carefully reviewed the proposals and interviewed the final 2 candidates. The J. Alton Consulting and Barbara Lewis duo were selected, and we began the 9-month process of developing a strategic plan. Jamie has an undergraduate degree from Princeton University. He has a master's degree in museum and field studies from the University of Colorado Boulder, and much experience in assisting museums with the strategic planning process. Barbara is a master trainer and a pioneer in strength-based stakeholder engagement processes. The foundation of the plan and direction of the strategies was built from the input of stakeholders throughout our community. So we started with a core team of 18 people that included a mix of community, staff, and board members. The core team met frequently throughout the process. They met before the sessions with the community and afterwards to compile data. They helped to prepare the summit and then synthesize the information afterwards. They helped with preparation work for the action planning teams and the compilation of the timeline and the final draft of the strategic plan. So this is our core team, the names that you see listed here. We are so grateful to all of them. The core team helped plan and manage the SOAR sessions that were held from December to April. SOAR is an acronym for Strengths, Opportunities, Aspirations, and Results. It's similar to what you know as a SWOT analysis, but it's more aspirational and positive. Okay. We held a total of 6 SOAR sessions, which resulted in the insight and wisdom collected from a total of 98 people from the board, staff, and the community. From these sessions, we learned our perceived strengths were the spaces and experiences that we offer, 2, our role as a catalyst and connector to at least 120 other organizations in York County. And when we see the Cultural Alliance, we realize it's even more than that. 3, valuing York County. 4, our extremely talented and knowledgeable staff. And 5, our expansive collections. Oh, thank you. Great. Another outcome of the SOAR sessions was a summarizing of over 200 pages of data into 5 broad goal areas. And these are the goals: diversity, sustainability, dynamic programming, community connector, and collections. With 5 broad goal areas, we began to prepare for the community summit on Saturday, May 14th, which was an all-day event from 9 to 4:30 p.m. 55 people from the board, staff, and community gave up a full day on Saturday to organize the priorities and begin the work of identifying the tasks necessary and the people needed to take action. There were earnest discussions, the exchange of ideas, and even some hearty laughter. But at the end of the day, we had a clearer understanding of our 5 strategies. Our top strategy, is diversity. We stated the first strategy: the History Center will reflect and enhance the diverse perspectives of the communities we serve to create shared ownership of York County's past, present, and future. Repeatedly, we heard people say they wanted us to find and record untold stories. Many were also concerned that our center should be accessible to people with language barriers and special needs. Slide. Perfect. Our second strategy was sustainability. The History Center will become fully sustainable by capitalizing on our strengths and the imperative of right-sizing to one campus. These efforts will drive growth and help us to secure accreditation within 7 years. A primary concern was to develop and retain our excellent staff and volunteers. Our stakeholders also insisted that we increase our currently below industry average pay levels. Many stakeholders thought the growth focus should be on increasing net income and expanding our percentage of public funding, which is only a very small percentage of our total revenue. They also wanted to increase private funding, right-sized to one campus, and secure accreditation, none of which are small goals. Nope, you're perfect. Next goal area was dynamic programming. The History Center will generate dynamic, ever-changing programming, media, and exhibits for diverse audiences while utilizing technology to create relevant and interactive experiences. To keep people engaged and returning, our stakeholders requested dynamic exhibits that change frequently. You can go back one. Thank you. They were interested in having us identify and collaborate with diverse partners. They wanted us to make sure we also maintained our primary target audience, which are your history buffs, your families, schools, young people, and diverse communities. We don't want to lose this large population of our visitors. Our next strategy was the community connector strategy. The History Center will become a focal point to better connect the York County community by bringing diverse people together to make history more compelling and relevant for an evolving population. The stakeholders had many innovative suggestions to connect the museum with the community. They saw us as a connector to people and places throughout the community. For example, we could leverage the rail trail and other cultural organizations. They thought there were many digital and social media opportunities to reach even more people. And many thought that we could nurture deeper relationships with all the York County school districts and private schools and make history even more interesting. Our last strategy area was collections. The History Center will ensure collections represent all of York County's past and present and are stewarded and accessible according to the best professional standards. Our stakeholders understood the need for establishing proper storage conditions, including visual storage and work areas. They repeatedly requested digitization and accessibility. Digitizing our collection is costly and time-consuming. We recognize this need, and the plan has us steadily continuing the work towards this lofty goal. They also wanted online catalog and finding aids for accessibility, digital and physical tours of collections and library archive areas and online exhibits. After the summit, the core team met to synthesize the information and prepare guidelines for the next step, which was action planning. The action items were then prioritized for each goal area with a timeline for their completion. The result was a final plan, which the board is currently reviewing. Once the board approves the plan, committees and staff will collaborate to identify tasks and tools to measure the progress. The good news is the work has already begun, which will give us some early wins in the process of achieving these goals. The plan will be to focus going forward, and we will be reviewing our progress at our regular board meetings. So in addition to this extensive work of the strategic plan, as a board, we also made the important decision to move forward with the STEAM plan project. We thought we had completed all of our necessary fundraising, but then we were faced with a $3 million in price escalation and possibly more after the negotiations and considerable value engineering. So we're determined that no setbacks will stop us. It's a hurdle, but we are going to persevere. So speaking of someone with more perseverance and determination than anyone I know, I will turn the podium over to Joan for the president's report.
Not sure if it's perseverance, tenacity, or insanity. But I am blessed to be here. I'm very, very fortunate to be the president and CEO of the York County History Center. So thank you, Rebecca. I need glasses, sorry. So if you'll indulge me for a moment, I want to take a quick trip back in time. That's allowed, right? We're a historical organization. We like to look backward to understand our present circumstances. Well, that's what we're going to do a little bit today. And after that, I'll touch upon our current operations and then circle back to Rebecca's strategic plan presentation in brief. Some of the points will sound familiar to folks, although understanding where we are, you need that little context. So 15 years ago, and by the way, I have not aged one day. 15 years ago, I quoted Bob Dylan saying the times they were a-changing. I had no idea how much they would change. And then we were the York County Heritage Trust, and it was at the annual meeting. At the time, I was referencing the changing practices in museums, libraries, and archives by highlighting 21st century museum and library skills, essentially moving from outdated operating models, think of museums as authorities on hills, to a more facilitated learning and experiential organization to engage the community. To achieve that kind of shift in our organization meant investing in personnel. However, it was evident at the time that our rapid organizational expansion from 1999 to 2003 had outpaced our capacity to care for the sizable collection. Let me just stop here. We have 100,000 three-dimensional items. So a three-dimensional item versus a two-dimensional item. So 100,000 three-dimensional and over 400,000 two-dimensional items in our collections. So we outpaced our capacity to care for these collections and our buildings, which came at the expense of staff, eroding our ability to mount rotating exhibits, offer public programs, connect with our community, and conduct research. To be clear, our organization earnestly believed that growth would help gain public recognition and relevance, therefore bring additional funds and visitation to our 5 locations. It seemed logical. After all, we're wired to believe that growth is the supreme indicator of success. Higher profits, larger buildings, more customers are business targets. Yet in our work, growth means more collections, more exhibits, more programs. And those can only occur, as Diane said before, with people and financial success. So to avoid the broad assumptions back in 2007, we conducted a number of assessments to better understand our position and some possible solutions. Studies from the National Trust for Historic Preservation, the Institute for Museum and Library Services Collections Assessment Program, which is buildings and collections, a heritage tourism assessment, and an attempt at a master interpretive plan. That's a lot of words, I'm sorry. But all of that study essentially pointed to one option, and that was right sizing, which initially sounded less than appealing. After all, if growth is success, what is right sizing? Hold that up. In addition to our internal shortcomings, the world around us was changing as well. I think we all remember a little economic downturn. At the time, it was at a measured pace. We've seen it accelerate dramatically recently. So we acknowledge our internal shortcomings, but we also saw this pace of change externally, and it was impacting our ability to function internally. So over the past 15 years, we took measures to address the hurdles which were being thrown at us, such as changes in philanthropy, variability in the stock market. I don't know anything about that today. Shifting community priorities and expanding technology, and most importantly, evolving visitor interests. Proactively, we expanded fundraising, encouraged planned giving to improve our endowment, participated in broader community events to improve our relevance. We invested in technology in a very big way for both internal operations and visitor engagement. We began offering programs and services desired by our target audiences. And as a result, we strengthened our position in the community, further professionalized our work, and moved forward with right sizing. This past year, as Rebecca talked about, we did take those significant steps after a small pandemic and 12 months of financial scenario testing. to move forward with the steam plant. So in December, we voted to go ahead. Even though we experienced materials escalation, not scope escalation, materials, it was important to move forward as community members generously supported the project and had expectations that we would move forward. Today, the transformation of the MedEd steam plant is well underway. We are immersed in construction and exhibit design and development. All Herculean efforts. Well, in fact, many may know that we just had a groundbreaking in August 15th. So perhaps you saw us on the news. Our team of staff and volunteers are leaning in hard to absorb the extra work involved in continuing daily operations, while some team members are devoting more than 75% of their time to the new location. So Terry Altman, Nicole Smith, and Rachel Warner, who are all here today, have done a major job in carrying this project forward, especially with the exhibits and technology. And Gail's in there as well. We have so much more to do. Simultaneously, our team continues to use technology for audience engagement. In fact, this evening you can explore the digital map of historical organizations, a work in progress, thanks to Gail Meyer, manager of IT initiatives, Steve Beck, adjunct professor at York College, and also one of our volunteers, and his intern from York College as well. We implemented an online book club this year called Bookmarked that Caroline Smith, Dr. Scott Dicely, and Rich Randall helped put together, connecting audiences to authors, all York County related. We focused on visitor engagement by dedicating one team member, Valerie Long, to schools, including homeschoolers, an audience that expanded dramatically. That change allows our public programs manager, Christian Murga, to engaging both broad and target audiences, furthering our reach in the community. Can't read my own writing. On the collection side, the library and archives began the difficult process of right-sizing their collection by evaluating relevance of multiple books to York County. Two volunteers, Jonathan Stayer, a board member, and Tom Foreman, labored for over a year to accomplish this goal. In the collections department, thanks to an extraordinarily generous donor, our team has almost finished with the inventory that's taken 5 years to achieve. It's been an extraordinarily busy year. So looking ahead, the steam plant construction will continue through next fall. Sometime in October or November, the exhibit installation will commence, followed by our move out of this building. At this juncture, we believe this building will close late next year. We envision the Agricultural and Industrial Museum operations and our other sites as well to continue throughout the construction phases. Our target opening for the steam plant is 2024, spring. Notice I didn't say month. When those doors open, our journey to achieve 21st century skills will continue. Many of those best practices, expanding historical interpretation, strengthening community connections, ensuring all audiences are represented, facilitating experiential learning, improving collections care, are embedded in the new strategic plan priorities and goals. As you saw and heard, eventually success in these areas will enable the History Center to become accredited, a best practice that we lost way back in 1999. It's been an extraordinary journey thus far. Even more meaningful to us in continuing this journey to a highly respected professional museum, library, and archive is our continued relationship with our community. Without you, these milestones would not be possible. We are immensely grateful to you for your continued support, guidance, and engagement. At our core, our work is for you and about you and the community that we serve. And that will always be our highest priority. Thank you.
Okay, now for one of the really exciting parts of the program, the awards. So we're going to start with the Chair's Award for Dennis Grant. This award is given to an individual who demonstrates exemplary stewardship of history through service, philanthropy, research, or actions for the long-term benefit of the York County community. The Chair's Award represents the highest honor of the York County History Center. You want to try to- We can share.
Like anybody who's looking for new digging. That's a great friend. And when I found it, that he had been. Behavior was based in, I was. I enjoyed the working there. That's the way they wrote the final history. I don't think about the database that shows that. It's the way to go primary source. One of the things I would have been needed is source. Some more veterans, their military service is. When you get to the 20th century, the Civil War is totally emphasized that this can be started then because everybody this game was never Gettysburg or standing in the same room with Grant and the founding, etc. One of the things I'd like to do is to some of the historic point. And the thing I do is it makes it one of them. It takes an enormous amount of money. That's all I ran by. They were
Okay, we're going to move on to the second award, which is the Heritage Profile Award, and that will go to the Friends of Lebanon Cemetery. The Heritage Profile Award recognizes those individuals who have made a lasting or significant contribution in extending the knowledge, preservation, and understanding of the history of York County. These individuals have demonstrated evidence of long-term dedication and personal commitment in pursuing this goal.
So we need to invest a little more in technology.
the Lebanon Cemetery Group back in 2019 and looking for information about my family, which of course led to the York County History Center. Although I've been there, as a child and maybe I don't never really took the time to realize the number of resources available for family cemeteries. So it's fairly new to me, but this is part of being able to preserve the legacy of families takes place in the cemeteries. But that's such a small portion of what we do through the resources that the History Center working in the library. You're able to look for documents with families or families related to their wills, related to maybe some pictures, historical assets that would be available. And then at times utilizing some of the computer technology to do research there. In addition to that, for my own personal family. Blanket that had been handed down for generations where I was informed that this blanket was made by and so I was able to take this to the History Center for them to work with me on how to properly preserve that family here. Through work, the family story was that this blanket crafted by James Kino. We were slaves clothing had been utilized. Taking this to the History Center, wanting information on how to preserve it properly, they also were able to do an analysis for us. And at the end of the day, material used for years after slavery had already been abolished. And so is it a correct story that the hands that made this blanket or of someone that previously had been enslaved? Yes, but the materials were later. That information started to look and see what type of business and industry there was in Baylor, and there were several large textile companies that used to go around with the folks with swatches. And that's where we believe the materials came. We've been able to look at some of the African American women that were involved with the suffrage movement back in the early 1900s. And that information has enabled us then to be able to connect with their families. Many of the families did not know this information through the History Center, not only we, but we're being able to tell these stories, share these stories with families, and it's been a wonderful partnership. It's different when you have an opportunity to not only learn about people who look like you, but in many cases are really related to you and influence the different stories. And I do the History Center meetings all.
Okay, Samantha from the Lebanon Cemetery.
Samantha Dorn and Tina Charles.
Mhm. Thank you. Moving on to the next award, we have the Leela Foreman Shawl Spirit Award, and it is being posthumously given to Richard Dick Blair and Albert Albie Schaefer. And we'd like the camera to come over. Or if the family, the two gentlemen can come forward. We're excited to say that 2 white rose bushes are going to be planted at the Fire Museum in honor of Dick and Albie. So, thank you so much. The next Community Heritage Award is for business. This award is accorded to a business that endeavors to preserve history within the York County region. And this award goes to the Prospect Hill Cemetery in Jack Summer.
Leads me to the history of we came to 1200 girls out of this training. It gives a history, 90 minute history tour of the cemetery. It's a story of 3 veterans from Pennsylvania. And yet it's a fully comprehensive history that's here. So several years ago, we came on and actually prayed and was his purpose. The gentleman said, well, we would like to be able to change it. It's a little bit like training that you would write at. Sunday a month, and you can access that from our website. We run the story. Hearing just some of the stories there, whether it's the soldier servant, use our tractor. We can take 122 people. Story of the town through the story of individuals. We have some great, some things that one is constantly evolving, constantly growing, and taking individual threads, if you will, individual people, and telling their story, you shine at least a little bit of light on the working tapestry that makes your life so rich. There is the history of individuals, individual families, the history of the beginning.
Okay, the next award is Community Heritage Award for Local Historical Organizations. And this local history organization award recognizes organizations whose history activity serves as a role model of excellence for others.
Businesses, industries, and banks, even churches have community activities and community. One of the things of the district is interesting, it hopes that it will provide appreciation. Yeah, the one struggle. Yeah, this one is. Internet or, you know, when you have some, we talk the story about from the library system. Because it's a group effort. While they're coming up here, I just want to say, Carl Stanball again, the founder and current president of NECA. And without these people here, and without you, it would never been possible. NECA has been responsible for 30 on-site talks, 5 field trips, 26 off-site trips, 11 historical videos that we made, and 10 Zoom histories. And we've worked with the York library system for the past 3 years. We have a table back there showing many of our things that we do. And just recently, just tonight, I got this book here. This book here, it was filmed by one of our previous mayors, and it was sponsored by the History Center here at York. It was from 1968. I just received it tonight in our library. So I just want to thank everybody. And if you want to say your name. My name is Raymond. Tom Foster. Ken Brennan. Dale Jim Sober.
Catherine Stover, Judy Ward, David Dean, and Miller.
They do phenomenal work. I can attest to it. You're on the front report, see a lot of these names too.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have one last award. This is the Community Heritage Government Award. And this government award recognizes an outstanding contribution by municipalities. And this one goes to the Tree for Trails with Shelley Writing.
Planted long ago under Women's Club after overrun celebrate the contributions made by the veterans of that particular war. And the sycamores were planted on both sides of the road at that time, and there were 400 trees there. I attended a class in Holly and State that was taught by our local historian, Smith. Being at that time, at the end of class, asked if anyone in the class knew sycamores belong to trees. Good morning, Glenda. I actually had my father tell me as we drove to your sycamore trees, and they were a Veterans Memorial. So I raised my hand and I said something. The state said 23 years to get a nonprofit or 2 or 3 to replant the 200 trees that are now missing from that LA. That kind of sparked an idea for me because I also love trees. We started with a small committee that the nucleus was from York Rotary, but then we extended to Southern York County Rotary and also Red Line Group. So we recruited people, but we also had folks from those 3 Rotary groups. What you will see is trees on both sides of the road, depending on where you are. And we obviously had to dodge a bunch of lines that you will see. But our trees were planted 5 to 10 foot clearance. So we actually had to get land permission from everyone who owned those particular areas that needed to be planted. During my career as an educator, I had a lot of great things happen lot of wonderful opportunities, but I will have to say that this particular project just been a wonderful lifetime experience. And that's due to the volunteers, both the committee, the hundreds of people who came out literally to help plant trees, those who donated in memory of members in their family in order to get the trees planted. It was a huge community. The trees are actually planted between the upper end of all the way down to the base line. It's a nice mix with the century trees that are still here. And now we're starting to see the young trees start to develop. And we hope that this will be a very special place. One who has an opportunity to drive through the LA.
Is Shelley here?
There she is, she's hiding.
Oh, of course.
By the way, if you want to see what the tree, some of the trees look like, this was the before picture. So you can tell that some of them were not really healthy. So, why don't you family? I know this was an amazing effort. I was in the Rotary of New York, and I know that the Rotary.
I'd like to thank the History Center for this. History Center has always been special to me from the time I had to do original research for Dr. Gold upstairs until now when I'm doing research in the historical genealogy room. I'd like to thank Kristen Phillips. She was one of the first people to give us a letter of endorsement, which helped us get a state grant. And of course, Steve's here tonight. He's the one who started all of this. I went to an executive committee meeting the day after Steve's class, and I blurted out to them, "What do you think of this idea?" That was my mistake. And I thought, oh, in heaven's name, are we ever going to get 200 trees to the ground? And I will have to tell you that I had the most amazing committee, and each of these folks that I brought along were very involved. We saw Jean on one photo, she and her husband were measuring where the trees were to go. Lindy is a former student camper, mine and now the magistrate at the tree clearing. She did the entire dedication ceremony. And if you'd like any brochures, we gave them out to the board members, but we do have some extra. William showed up at a committee meeting. He's a tree broker. What can I say? It was something we needed, and Patrick is manager of Bartlett Tree. So they did all the demos for the volunteers, and we've had a tremendous rate of survival compared to the normal, because I believe of Kristen's leadership there. And then we have Linda and Joe Elliker. Linda did registration for us, kept track of all volunteers. We're sitting there in the first tree planting thinking, oh, we're gonna have anybody show up. And they kept coming and coming and coming. We had over 100 and some volunteers show up that day. So, and Lou Elliker, you always have to have someone lending money. So I can't say enough. Jean's husband, Jim, beloved in the southern end of the county. I knew I needed some locals, even though you're born in Glen Rock, that means you are local. So her husband, ex-Marine, ex-engineer for retirement, just was phenomenal as far as putting this together and getting all those land approvals. That was a tremendous job to go see all those people along the trail and get papers signed that they would allow trees to be put in there. So thank you to everyone. I hope some Sunday, when we always have Sunday drivers, you can take a jaunt from Jacobus down and see the work that all of these folks put in. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of our award recipients. You put in hundreds of hours each, and we really appreciate you. And it's inspiring to hear what you've done. Thank you. So the next portion of our agenda is 4 announcements. And so tonight only, you get 25% off in the gift shop. So shop, get all your gift items, all the fall decor that you need. You can get the Journal of York Heritage Trust debut. So shop frequently, often. Think of everyone on your list. Joan mentioned the digital exhibit for the Historical Organizations map in Founders Hall. So check that out. Yep.
Okay.
And events, we have all sorts of events coming up. So we have the Smithsonian Magazine Museum Day, which is Saturday, September 17th, 10 a.m. It's free admission to museums across the country. So the History Center's museums and the historic sites will participate with scavenger hunts and all sorts of other activities. So encourage your friends to come because it's going to be free for them. And you can get your tickets at the SmithsonianMagazine.com website, and it will admit 2 to any of our sites. There's also the Friends Book Blast on September 30th to October 1st. So thanks to the Friends group, the Book Blast is back. So if you need some winter reading, visit AIM to pick up a few books for your enjoyment. We also have the Oyster Festival on Sunday, October 16th from 11 to 4. I think it's our 48th year. So it's going to be another great History Center celebrating our 48th year. We've got oysters, any way you like them, fried, stewed, or nude. We've got delicious apple fritters, great food for the non-oyster eaters. If you're a bacon fan, we have bacon food truck to try, and the JC Fisher Band will be joining us as well. There's artisans, activities, and music for the whole family. As always, the Friends promise great desserts. And returning this year, we have the Central Middle School Fife and Drum Corps. So join us for all this and more. And be sure to bring your whole family. The Friends also have a number of items coming up. They've got the Canada trip, and they're having an informational meeting for the public. It's set Thursday afternoon, October 13th, and the trip is scheduled for September 2023. They have a pecan and car wash ticket sale, and the turkey trot, of course, which is Thursday, November 10th. We have the Historical Societies meeting on Monday, November the 16th at 6 p.m. We have Articles of Confederation Day, which is Saturday, November 12th from 11 to 4. It's always a wonderful day to bring recognition to the nation's first Constitution. This year, we'll usher the event with a young George Washington and much, much more. You'll want to check that out. Holiday Open House is Sunday, December 4th. And before we adjourn the meeting, I just want to make a reminder that our award winners, if you could please meet for photographs in the gallery, upstairs in the gallery, and board members can gather briefly for a meeting in the library. So with no further ado, we're going to adjourn the meeting. So the meeting stands adjourned, and then we have the reception, shopping, and essential pieces exhibit in Meeting Hall and the York County Historical Organization's digital map in Founders Hall. So thank you so much for coming tonight. We appreciate everything you do for the York County History Center.